Florida State football is doing a pretty good job out of state. I didn't know just how good until I was at Under Armour, New Orleans. And there were multiple kids that talked about Florida State, but three that I want to bring up are players that aren't just good. These are guys that are impact players. These are good enough to play for any school in the country, national recruits. One of them, maybe the best player in the country, Lamar Brown, and I'll save him for last. He's incredible talent out of Baton Rouge. He's got an extremely strong connection to the Florida State staff. They have done a tremendous job, but I'll get to him here in a moment. Xavier McDonald is a kid that I didn't know Florida State had built enough momentum. He told me he's going to take an OB. He's out of Mississippi. He's a kid that I'd seen before. He was at the Under Armour All-American game this past year. He didn't even have to come out to the camp. First off, let me give him credit for that. He came out and did one-on-ones and all that. He doesn't care who's watching, who's videoing. Let's go. Let's bring it. That reminds me of the Bobby Bowden era, first and foremost. If you're going to win big time in college football, you need guys that can go up and get it. He's 6'3", 160 pounds. He's that long, lanky athlete that, ironically, again, Bobby Bowden recruited a ton of during his time in Tallahassee to build a great program. And Xavier McDonald is a kid that's gotten off from everybody. So just kind of going through and talking to him, Ole Miss, Mississippi State are involved, but the school to watch is LSU and then Florida State and Miami. He's not loyal to the in-state schools. Auburn's involved. This is going to be an OV deal. Xavier has a good relationship with the FSU staff. They need receivers, playing time, and I know flat out playing time is major consideration for him, even more than other kids. NIL will come into it in some capacity, but this is an old school recruit in terms of his personality and how he looks at things. Again, he didn't need to go compete at all. He's already playing the Under Armour game. He came back again this year to compete at the one in New Orleans because it was the one closest to him, and he was happy. He was real happy to go out there and kick the butt of quite a few guys. Not many players can hang with him athletically, especially his ability to jump up and get the ball. He's a freak. I'm really curious to see where he ends up, but Florida State's right in the middle of it, and I did not know that. I knew they were involved, but like I could just tell from talking to him, the vibe, the Noles have a shot here. Next, and this is a kid that I'd mentioned before, but I hadn't seen. First off, I just want to say Damarius Yates, he's from Kemper County. Mario Nash Jr., the kid they signed this past year for the Noles, the offensive tackle, had brought him up, even mentioned him on my show when I had had Mario, on the show, and I didn't know anything about him. Holy cow, is he good. He was the best running back there, in my opinion. His ability to change directions, to catch the football when they were doing one-on-ones. He could play receiver, period. There is no doubt in my mind that he could transition to receiver if that's what he wanted to do. Not the biggest guy. Again, he's a Dexter Carter type, maybe a little bigger than Dexter at this point. But that's who he reminds me of. High praise, I know, because Dexter played in the NFL, but catches the football, makes the first guy miss, is built the way you want, and zero concern. Once again, another Mississippi kid, zero concern about the ability to go out and compete. Oh, somebody saw me lose a rep. I might drop in my rep. He could care no less. These are the kinds of kids that Florida State used to get to build their football program. That's what they need to get even more of moving forward. I mean, they've always gotten some like Mississippi kids and stuff. Yates can play for anybody, and I think he will play early. Bama, Ole Miss, Florida State are three of the programs that are highly involved. Watch out for Bama. Florida State's got his ear. He knows that Mario is trying to get him to come to Florida State. OVs will be important. But watch for him, especially as it relates to Florida State. Does he take unofficial visits to FSU, at least one, during the spring before OVs? As I've talked about, and I don't blame anybody for this, numerous recruits have told me and other people in the recruiting industry that I know, they're interested in Florida State, but they need to see it. Can't blame them. They won 2 games last year. So they want to see the offense or the defense, whatever side of the ball they're on. How do they perform in practice? How do the players respond to all these new coaches? Tim Harris Jr. and Pot Roast and Coach White and it just Coach Cooper. Across the board, they've got so many guys. Herb Hand on the offensive line. They want to see it. I think it'll be important for him because he also has Mario there. Again, his former high school teammate is in Tallahassee. going to be going through it. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens when he visits, because I think Florida State could get a steal. Not many people are talking about anybody really outside of a handful of running backs at Florida State's after kind of local. Mississippi's a little further away, but I'm telling you, Damarius Yates he is a dude. Incredible athlete. I don't care if he wanted to play. If he told me and I was coaching, I don't care what school it is, I want to play DB. I would take him. And he doesn't even play that. Like, he plays running back, plays slot. I would take him. He's that kind of player because he's so athletic and he's so competitive. Never have enough of those guys. And finally, 5-star Lamar Brown. He goes to University Lab School in Baton Rouge. You're thinking, he's just going to LSU. He didn't even grow up an LSU fan, which is ironic. Like, the school literally connects to Florida or to LSU. So it's one of those deals. But his 4 visits, Florida State, Miami, Texas A&M, and LSU, I went through it with him on and off the record. I can just tell you overall, like, he doesn't know where he's going. Here's the ironic part as it relates to Florida State. When Gus and Herb were in Orlando at UCF, for whatever reason, he just had a great relationship with them. Great relationship. And when they moved on to Florida State, he said it sucked. They left UCF. I really liked UCF. But when they went to Florida State, I'm like, okay, let's see what they can do there. And he wants to come and check it out. Now, Lamar Brown told me that he wants to play defense now. I don't know if that's really going to impact anything because obviously Herb Hand is the O-line coach for the Noles. But whatever the case may be, he has a great relationship with them, and he's definitely taken an OV. Like, I think he would start at Florida State as an offensive lineman as a freshman, right? No doubt. D-line would be harder because they got more depth there. But I saw him at 6'4", 285 pounds, play really well on both sides. Like, he would do a rep on the O, then flip over to the D in one-on-ones and stuff. Like, he's an absolute monster, national top 10 kid. Very confident, but yet humble at the same time. He was just happy to compete. Another guy, not afraid to compete. I love that. Got to have guys like that all the time. And if you don't, you're not going to win big. As for timeline and all that stuff, he would like to make a decision fairly early on. But we'll see what happens with that. He's a kid that's not really concerned about it right now. He's just trying to make sure he gets the right visits, gets them all set up, and gets all the timing and all that. But Florida State is right there for arguably the best overall player in the country. As far as a two-way lineman, he is the best. Lamar Brown is kind of the kid you want to root for too. Again, humble because he wants to compete and wants everybody to see what he does on reps instead of hiding in the back. He would go back into the line, go O or D, and take reps from other guys. I thought that was awesome because 5-star kids usually they don't want to do that at all. I thought it was pretty unique. That's going to conclude this update here on the Locked On Seminoles podcast. Had a lot of fun with it. Again, for those of you that were watching earlier and talking basketball, it's not something I normally do. With Luke Loucks, yeah, I can cover hoops. I'm excited to do so. I think Florida State basketball is in really, really good hands, and it's cool. On the other end, with the subject that I normally talk about, Florida State and specifically recruiting, they're trending in the right direction for so many kids. It's really fun to see that. I hadn't really anticipated it at all, that Florida State would be doing this well with recruiting, but hats off to everybody that's in some way, shape, or form involved with Florida State football. They're doing a good job. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping and talk some Noles with me. Hit that like button, that notification bell, and subscribe to this podcast. Everybody have a good one.